Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach. Today is a new series that we're starting since we finished with the HTML series. I'm kickstarting Bootstrap 5, okay? And in this first lesson, we're going to be talking about containers, how to download, set up your code, the color, the border, and the padding of the containers that comes, built in, and the fixed, fluid, and responsive type of containers. Let's get into it. First off, how to download. Bootstrap is very, very easy to download, and there are two methods that you can go about it. First off, you can use a CDN approach or content delivery network approach, wherein you just need to input these two, as you can see here, these two, link and script, to the head tag, okay, the head section. And another way of employing Bootstrap is to get to the website, download it directly from the website, and following the instructions based on your based on your operating system, your laptops or PCs or whatever, it comes specific like that. So it'll make your job in coding much easier. And here I'm going to show you how to set up real nice. First off, since Bootstrap works with HTML, that's what it deals with, you have to have the HTML5 doc type. And Bootstrap puts mobile first. It puts responsivity first, So make sure that your website is not in conflict with that. And we can do it like this. You have the doc type, HTML specify the language as English, and then within the head tag, you have the title, and then you have the character set UTF-8, and then this part where it specifies the width equals device width, meaning that if the user is viewing on an iPad, this website will be, responsive to the iPad's device size. If it's laptop, it'll be responsive to that. So, it's very simple. Initial scale is 1. This is the initial zoom level being 1 when the website first load up. In your browser, you may be familiar with it as 100%. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at fixed containers. So the container class creates responsive fixed width container. Max width will change depending on, device sizes. And here I have a little chart. Well, not chart, a listing of the different device sizes as well as the max width of the fixed containers. For now, you don't have to pay too much attention to this. I understand that this could look a little bit confusing. Right now, the main thing is just to get familiarized. Okay, let's move on. The browser width will change at different sizes when you resize your browser window. That's the responsive part. Here I have a div with class container, and within this div I have heading 1, title, and then I have paragraph with section and the bold tag. Okay, moving on to fluid containers, the container fluid class to create full width. Full width meaning, it'll take up as much space as possible. Container that will, just what I said. I have div class container fluid, just like I said. Form input ID, classic form syntax, label form, and then closing of the div or division tag. Now we have responsive containers. This is the last part talking about containers before we move on to styling. The max width of the container will change depending on screen sizes and viewports. This is very simple. Container SM for small, MD for medium, LG for large, XL for extra large, and XXL for extra large. Familiar terms with clothing sizes as well. Moving on to the last part, color, border, and padding. Containers only have left and right padding by default. You can use spacing utilities to make them look prettier. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's take a look at the example. Div class container fluid, padding 5, so large top padding, okay? P for padding, T for top. Down here, container P5, MY5, BG, dark text white, so extra margin and extra padding, right? So padding, margin, background is dark, text is white. Same down here with BG primary, text is white, blue background with extra padding and margin. While you may shake your head at these shortcuts and acronyms, I'm pretty sure that you will get used to them very, very quickly. They are very easy to understand, easy to employ, and highly convenient. I'm gonna go ahead with doc type and then HTML language English, and then let's move on to the head section with the title Bootstrap 5, not for introduction. Let's go over here and meta character set UTF-8. Next up is meta name viewport content, width equals to device width, and then initial scale is 1. Okay, and now I'm just going to copy and paste the CDN of Bootstrap, reformat my document a little bit, make everything look pretty. Okay, now that's it. That's the setup for Bootstrap that we have. Let's go ahead and move to body. We're going to have div class container. Okay, and I'm actually going to give it a little bit of styling, just background color, so we can, identify the different containers that we're working with. So down here, P fixed containers. And then let's move on to the fluid container. Div style, background color, aquamarine. Aquamarine sounds nice. Class container fluid. Let's make this P, and let's make this bold. Fluid containers, and I'm just going to make this capitalized as well. I like to stay consistent. Now we're going to explore a bunch of different sizes responsive containers. Okay, div class is a container small. I'm actually going to add some style. Background color red class. Delete this. Then I'm going to copy and paste. Okay. Copy. Paste medium, right? Medium, large, extra large, and extra, extra large. I'm going to change the colors. Yellow, green, orange, and then magenta. Let's make this medium, large, all right, extra large, and extra, extra large, okay, XXL, extra large. Now let's move to some paddings and margins and whatnot. Div class container P5 MY5 BG primary. Text is white. Okay, blue background fixed container with a padding and margin. Okay, I'll see to wrap all of that text. So this is what we have right here. We have fixed container, fluid container with different sizes. Okay, and they have, this is full width, right? As I've mentioned, full width. These are fixed containers, so they don't take up as much space as they would want. And then this is another fixed container with its own padding and margin, blue background, and white text, okay? Now I'm going to try to resize my browser and we'll see how they will react, okay? As you can see, different sizes, fixed containers, fluid containers, and whatnot, they react very differently when you resize, okay? So using Bootstrap does make our lives much, much easier. There. Let me just resize it some more. Right? Unfortunately, I don't have, the flexibility in my browser, because on some browser, as you resize, it'll show you the elements changing in real time. Unfortunately, I don't have that. But you get what I mean. Now, that's it for our first lesson in Bootstrap 5. Very easy, simple, introductory lessons. I do hope that you learned something new, and thank you for watching until the end. Our next topic, we're going to be talking about a grid. A grid does help with positioning, organizing, and styling, okay? So don't forget to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow, and have a wonderful day. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap 5. Today's is about grid system, okay? Classes is basic structure and how to create equal and unequal columns. First off, we're going with grid classes. There are currently 4 classes. Extra small for phones, small for tablets, medium for small laptops, and large for both laptops and desktop, okay? You obviously can combine these for further, dynamic and flexibility. Next up to basic structure. The basic structure of rows and columns is very, very simple. It's the same thing that you see with HTML table, for example. I'm pretty sure I also had a lesson in HTML explaining the rows and columns. In Bootstrap is the same, but the unique thing is about the class name. First off, you have the container that is called row for the class, and within it you have column, okay? And if you want more row, you just create more row container and you add in however much column you want. That's it. That's the basic structure. Now that we're done with that, let's move on to the next part regarding the width of the columns. Now, you can add a number behind, the size of the column. And what do I mean by size? Over here, if you remember, extra small, small, medium, and large, with these acronyms. And if you put all of them the same number, then they will be just as long and just as equal. But if, let's say, the first one is 5 and the second one is 7, then the second one will be a bit longer. First one, okay? And obviously I will demonstrate this to you. It's very simple. It's just a matter of relativity. Let's move on to the next part. Unequal volume. Okay, I have an example here for you. If you do not put any number behind, let's say, XS or extra small, it is full width. And full width meaning it takes up as much space as possible compared to if you just put the number 10 or the number 5. Let's start with a container. Container over here. And then we're going to add in a row, div class row, all right? And within row, we'll have some column, and we'll make it small and 7, okay? With the style of background color, make it pink, all right? So that is pink and small. Then I'm going to copy and paste this 3 times, changing the color for each time. Yellow. So all of these will be equal to each other in terms of length, okay? Now I'm going to copy this one more time and paste. This time it will be unequal, and I will change this into 4. And down here to 2 maybe, and this to 5. I think 5 solid. Okay, let's see how this works out. Okay, so as you can see, for the first 3 columns, they stack upon each other, right? Because it's, it's small and it's 7, so they don't have enough space over here. So when they don't have enough space on the side, they just stack upon each other. So that's where the dynamic and the flexibility for mobile user comes in. For the second part, small, this one is big, right? It's medium. This one is bigger, it's longer than this one, because the first one is 4, second one's 5, and the third should be the shortest, right? So this is how it works, okay? Now that's it for Bootstrap grid system. Since Bootstrap, has a lot of ties with HTML, and how you manipulate Bootstrap really is just through class. So it's a very simple, very quick and easy way instead of using completely vanilla HTML. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at typography. Okay, a lot of text, a lot of strings, perhaps some CSS as well. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching until the end, and learn today, better tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap number 5. Today's lesson is about typography, okay? As you can see down here, there's a lot of things that I put in, but don't be scared. These are just very simple tags that you've encountered before, but with a little bootstrap twist, okay? We're going to be looking at the heading and then the display headings, which is a more, emphasized version of headings, and then the small for secondary text, mark for like highlight, ABBR for abbreviation, KBD for like keyboards, block quotes for, coding from other sources, DL for description list, then code when you want to put in your code, and pre for pre-formatted text, okay? Let's move on to the first part, headings. Headings 1 to 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bootstrap uses 16 pixels for font size and 1.5 for line height by default. I just want to mention that. And all P elements, so the paragraphs element, have a margin top equals to 0 and 16 pixel for margin bottom. In vanilla HTML, if you just use the H1 to 6 tags, you can see that, the texts are way bigger. But for Bootstrap, it gives the text a bold weight, so the text will be bold. And it also gives a responsiveness to the text. So as you, readjust your browser or switch to another device, the text will follow, okay? So it's not quite restricted and fixed as the vanilla HTML tags would be. And it's just very simple. You need to put class equals to H1 if you want to go for heading 1, H2 if you want to go for heading 2, so on and so forth. Let's move on to the next part, which is display headings, larger font size and lighter font weight, okay? And just like how you would with, headings, instead of H1, you go all out display 1 with a hyphen in between, okay? So no spacing, just a hyphen in replacement of that. Let's move on to the next part, small, mark, and abbreviation. As I've mentioned before, small is for a secondary text, and you can do this with any sort of text as well as heading. Mark has a yellow background and padding. By default, it is for highlight, and ABBR is abbreviation. As I've mentioned, it has its own format that I will clearly show you. When we move on to the demonstration part, it's hard to describe, all the styling. I don't think you can visualize it well in your mind if I just describe the Bootstrap styling compared to the vanilla HTML. Move on to the next part is the block quote, okay? Block quote is a whole container in itself, and you can also include a block quote footer to, quote where this is from, right? First, we have the block quote container with the class block quote. That's when HTML know, okay, use Bootstrap for this. And then you have a paragraph, and you can put whatever quote you want in here. And down below, you have a footer with a class block quote footer with its own styling, okay? And it comes with a hyphen by default. And then you just close the block quote, and that's it. All right. Now, DL for description list. I've talked about this in my previous HTML lessons. DL is for description list, DT is for description term, and DD is for description, okay? You just put all of these in a container. Fixed container, fluid container, whatever containers you want, and, the format will follow. So we have description term is orange juice. This will be in bold. And then we have the description of the orange juice. It's a beverage made from squeezed oranges. And this will, not be bold, regular text. To the next part, code, KBD, and pre, which is the last part of this lesson. So code, I have an example here, inline CSS. And then I have a code tag, open code tag, style equals to font weight 16 pixels, for example, and then I just close the code tag, okay? You don't need to, add in any sort of classes or anything like that. Same with KPD and pre. It's the same as DL, just put it in a container and you'll be good, okay? KPD for keyboards. Once again, pre-formatted text. Any spacing, any new line breaks is preserved in pre, okay? Which is not, they are not preserved if you just use like a paragraph tag, for example, okay? And pre obviously has its own padding, has its own margin, and, font weight and font size. Let's start with some heading. We have P, class, H1 for heading 1. Okay, I'm going to move down below and move on with display headings. H1 class display 1, and see how it is different from the above. All right, let's move on to the next part. Small p. This is the main text, and small. This is the secondary text, okay? Just gonna fix this part, and then let's go down here and move on to mark. If you want to highlight something, use the mark tag, okay? Next up is abbreviation. Now, ABBR means abbreviation, okay? Then we have block quote, and class equals to block quote. I'm just gonna give some spacing up here. P, this is a very, very, very long quote, and I'm just gonna type whatever. Then let's move on to the footer. Class, block quote, footer, from me, and then we close it, and that's it for block quote. Let's move on to description list, okay? This is a description list, and then description term, orange juice, description, juice made from oranges, okay? And then what's next? Tea, right? Beverage made from tea leaves, okay? Now that's it for description list. Let's move on to code. Example of inline CSS code style. Let's see. Background color. Let's make it red. Okay, and then a little period at the end here. Next up is KBD. Use KBD. Control S to save. Now add spacing here, and it's not capital S, it's just S, sorry. And last one is for pre-formatted text. I'm just gonna add a bunch of spacing, pre for Matte. Sorry with the auto type there. Formatted text. Okay. This for pre-formatted text. Contrast save. Now I'm just gonna add line breaks actually. 2 line breaks after each. Okay, add it here, block code as well. Description list over here. And then for code, KBD, and that's about it. Okay, as you can see here, we have our heading 1, and then we have the display 1. Display 1 obviously has more pop, has more emphasis compared to your heading. And then main text and secondary text. Although this might be harder to see, there's a difference between the text format over here and over here. This is thinner, lighter, and a little bit smaller, okay? Now, next up is highlight something using the mark tag, okay? Now, ABBR means abbreviation, but then you don't see special formatting for ABBR, okay? Well, this is because you need to have the title attribute of ABBR. Just writing ABBR alone is not enough, okay? Now, we're going to change that. Let's find ABBR and give it a title attribute, abbreviation. Okay, contrast to save, and let's see if this works. Now, as you can see, we have a little dotted underline under the ABBR, and if you hover over it, it says abbreviation. Okay, now ABBR tag goes with the title attribute. All right, next up, this is a very, very long quote from me. Has a long hyphen by default, and this is a description list with bold text, orange juice, and tea, and all of that. Next up is code, example of inline CSS, style, background, color, red, and it appears like this, okay? And for Control S, there's no styling, so there must be something wrong with my code, and I'm going to check it right. It's supposed to be KBD, but I've only typed KB, okay? My bad. Just fix that, Control S, and then you have it, okay? Very simple like that. So there are, petty mistakes like that. You have to pay attention, and if you don't, like I did, you would run into issues. And if you're dealing with thousands and thousands of lines of code, it'll be quite complicated. And pre-formatted text, preserves all of the spacings, all of the new lines, line breaks, and it has its own font, it has its own font weight and whatnot. Now that's it for Bootstrap typography. Next topic, we're going to be delving in colors, okay? Very simple, very straightforward. So thank you for watching until the end. I do really appreciate it. Don't forget to tune into my next lesson. Please do like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow. Goodbye.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap 5 colors. We're going to be talking about text colors and background colors, okay? First off, meaning through colors. How we can convey different information based on the colors. And in Bootstrap, these are called contextual classes, as I've written here. And we have a bunch, right? We have the class text muted, text primary, text success, text info. So through these, you can easily tell the meaning through the colors, all right? And this is not just for text contextual classes, can also be used for background colors, and I'll be talking about that over here. Now, before that, let's dive in a little bit with opacity. Very simply, you just put a number behind, for example, text black 50, and 50 here refers to the 50% opacity. Okay, text white 50, so the text is colored white and the opacity is 50. BG dark on a dark background or a black background. Now to the background for text. Same syntax, the only change is that instead of text, like up here, we have BG for background, right? So you have background primary, success, info, warning, so on and so forth. But with BG alone, it only gives you the background color. There's currently no text whatsoever. But if you want to combine both text and background, you go with text BG and then, info or success or warning. Now, I want to mention that these, by themselves do not work well with text. You have to specify the text color or text primary, text info class with these if you're going to use them separately. Okay, just like up here, you cannot just say BG dark and then just assume Bootstrap will figure out the text color. You have to specify text white and then BG dark. However, you can do this format, the syntax right here, text BG color or text BG, success info warning, light, dark. The color is just a placeholder for these things in the back. And if you go for that syntax, Bootstrap will automatically handle the appropriate text color for each background that you put into it, right? So text BG primary, text BG info is bluish. So Bootstrap will figure out whether or not it'll use the black or white color for the text. Let's start with a div, class, container, fluid. And in here we're going to have a header, contextual colors, and then background colors. P, class, text, info. We're going to do 2. This text is an info. Down here, P, class, text, warning. This text is a warning. Okay. Let's go down here and let's have a text and then background. P, class, text, white with 50% opacity. Background is dark. White text with 50% opacity. Next up is, background. Div, class, BG, primary, okay? And we're gonna have padding. No need to put anything in here. Div, class, BG, I'm gonna go with success, P5. Now, let's combine both text and background. P, class, text, BG, secondary. This text is secondary. P, class, text, BG, I'm just gonna go with danger. This text is a danger. Contrast to save. So this is what we have. We have our H2 heading over here, and then we have this text is an info. This text is a warning. As you can see, they all have their own colors. Next up is white text with 50% opacity and black background. Over here, there's just background. There's no text, and we've added padding, right? So that's why it looks pretty big. Next up is this text is secondary. So Bootstrap has chosen white text on these two backgrounds, and it really does pop. It has a good contrast. All right. Now that's it for Bootstrap color. Next topic is going to be about Bootstrap tables, so do tune into that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow, and thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap 5. Today's lesson is about tables. What table? Responsive tables, the head colors of tables, contextual classes, which we've encountered in the previous lesson, and hoverable table. Okay, so first off, this is what we have for a basic table. This is divided into 2 columns, okay? So you write this down first, and then this. It's the same block of code. They're not different codes. They're the same. It's just that I ran out of spaces, so I had to make, 2 columns of text. First off, we start with, naturally, div class container, fixed container, fluid container with padding and margin. That depends on you, but I'm just going to go with container. And then heading, basic table, preceded by table, class, table. So it tells Bootstrap this is table. T head for table head. So this is the heading, the first part of the table. And then table row preceded by table header because we're in the table head tag. Okay, we haven't escaped that yet. We're still dealing with that. Next up is, customer name, quantity after drinks. Now, after we've closed this table row, we're done with table head. We're not dealing with TH anymore. We're dealing with TD, table data. And it's within a tag called table body. It's very long. It looks a little bit complicated, but once you break down the tags, it's so simple. It's so straightforward. Table body, table row, and then table data, right? So for drinks, we have orange juice. Customer name, we have Jennifer. Quantity, we have 23 cups. That's it. Let's move on to responsive tables. Now this is very easy to do. The only difference between responsive tables and the basic table is that you just write table responsive. Okay, table responsive. And what is this responsivity? It adds a scroll bar to the table when needed. Sometimes you use like a smaller device or you resize your browser window. Obviously, you cannot see all of the table. Therefore, Bootstrap will add a scroll bar so you can, scroll and view all of the table in a smaller dimension. That's it. And you can also customize this a little bit with table responsive alone. The scroll bar will just appear. It just do its thing automatically. But if you want to have the scroll bar appear depending on the screen width, you can type in table responsive SM for small. You can do MD for medium, XL for extra large, and XXL for extra large. Okay, you see what I'm getting here, right? Now to the next section is table head colors. We start with a container MT3 for the container div, and then we have the header contextual classes for header colors. You absolutely can apply contextual classes, what we've talked about previously, with text primary, text info, text warning, or text BG primary, text BG info. You can absolutely apply that to tables as well. It's not just limited to, let's say, the P tag. You have table and T head, you say table dark, and it will give you a dark color. You can also color the whole table with table warning, table active. Okay, depending on which element TH, TR, TD that you put the class in, it will color correspondingly. Now, hoverable table. It's a little bit hard to describe the visual of hoverable table, so I will absolutely show you in a little bit in the demonstration. But when you hover, over certain sections of the table, it'll give you a different color. Okay. Once again, container div class, table hover. Very straightforward. Another example is table dark, and table hover. Table dark specify the color, table hover, specifies the hoverable. Once again, we start with div class container MT3. H2, hoverable dark table. Start with table class, table, remember the spacing, responsive, table info, so that's the color, and then table hover because we want it to be hoverable. T head, TR, so table row, and then table heading drinks, customer, and then quantity. Right, now let's get out of here and let's move on with table body. Whoops, my bad. We're still in table head, as you can see. Table body. Starting with table row. So first off, for table data, we have orange juice. And then Stephanie. 15 cups. Let's get out of here and let's have another row. Let's go with coffee. Mark. 2 cups. New table row. Table data. Let's make this Pepsi. And Emily. Lastly, 5 cups. Okay, now that's it. Let's see how this all works out. As you can see here, heading, hoverable, dark table. And then we have our table heading, drinks, customer, and quantity. Okay, and if you hover over, there's a dark color, there's dark filter over. Okay, it's grayish, and the gray still applies to whichever color you choose. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try and changing this from info to maybe danger or success, and we'll see how this gray applies to all of those. I'm gonna change it to danger. Okay, if we hover over, there we go. Change this to success. And that's it. Okay, it's a little bit of dark gray, but the color behind it still shows. So first off, we have drinks, orange juice, and then Stephanie, 15 cups. Very simple, like that. All right. Now that's it for Bootstrap tables. Next lesson is going to be about Bootstrap images. We're just speed running through all of the HTML concepts that we're learning with Bootstrap. So thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap 5 Images. Today's lesson we'll be talking about how to code different image shapes, aligning multiple images, and having responsive images for when you want to have a responsive website and it looks better in different screen dimensions. Okay, first off, image shapes. Very simply, rounded, circle, and thumbnail. Well, if you want an image to be round, you simply assign it the class rounded. Similarly with rounded circle and image thumbnail. Okay, now let's just go briefly through the HTML syntax here. Image is for an image tag and it is empty, therefore you do not need to close it. Source is the source of an image. It could be a URL or it could be a local file that you've downloaded in your HTML folder. Okay, and you can certainly copy and paste the path into the source attribute for HTML to figure out where the image is located on your computer. And alt is simply alternative, which is going to be a text that you yourself put to explain what the image is about in the case that the image cannot be loaded due to some browser incapabilities on the user's end. Okay, this is just to make it more accessible. Next up, to aligning, we're going to work on aligning 2 images, and you can certainly use them with float and start and float and end. Now, the float keyword here may sound very familiar to those who have brushed up a little bit with CSS. If you remember, you can actually float an image left to right as a way of, positioning them. And it works similarly here in Bootstrap. If you float start, it goes to the left, float, and it goes to the right. Okay. And centering an image, I will be giving it these following properties: MX Auto for margin auto, and D block for display block. Okay. And display block here, it'll also affect the relationship of this center image with any elements, any HTML elements that surround it, but that's for another lesson. Okay, we're just going to briefly brush through this. We have the image tag, the source naturally, and we have class, MX Auto, remember the spacing, D block, and then style. Okay, this inline CSS. Lastly, to responsivity. Responsive images automatically adjust to fit the size of the screen, and Bootstrap does that by using the image fluid class. This applies max width 100%, so this would take as much space as it is available. And the height is auto, okay? Height auto, it depends on the image itself and the file properties. Image class, image fluid, source out, and then we have the width and height attribute instead of using the inline CSS that we've seen earlier. Width and height 800. So this would, be a square, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and create a div with the class container. So I'm gonna have two divs, and this is the first div, image source. I'm gonna go with the cat.jpg. I've downloaded this directly to my HTML folder, which is, the same folder that main.html this file is on. Okay. Now that we have the source, let's go for the class rounded. This will make the edges of the image round compared to just, sharp square edges. Image source cat. Once again, we're going to be using the same picture to sort of see, the difference between the classes over here. Image source cat class image thumbnail. Okay, now let's move on to the second div, class container image. So these two should be side by side. Class float start, and I'm gonna give it a style of width 30%. So they don't, they don't actually, if they are too large, they would just appear top to bottom instead of side by side. And I'm gonna copy this, paste. Instead of start, I'll say end. Down here, we're gonna have a center image, source cat, class margin auto, and then display is block, style width is 50%, image class image fluid, source cat, width 800, height 800. Okay, now let's see how this works out. Okay, so if you look at the first image over here, you can see that the corners are rounded, okay? They're not sharp. Second one, it is oval. It is circular. Next one is a thumbnail, so it has this a little bit fainted outline over here. Go down here, we have two images that are side by side and one that is perfectly in the middle, okay? And the job of this one is to be responsive, which I'm going to try by resizing the browser window. Okay, as you can see here, these two are not responsive. They're cut. So if you were to view them on, let's say, a mobile device, it will look something like this, which doesn't look very nice. But if you go for this one, no matter how you resize it, it's going to display the complete images, okay? Unless it gets too small, obviously. Now that's it for today's lesson. I hope that you learned something new. Our next topic is going to be about Bootstrap alerts, and going to be learning about pop-ups and whatnot. So thank you for watching until the end. I do hope that you learned something new. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment any questions that you have. Learn today, better tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap number 5. Our lesson for today is about alerts, the types of alerts, and along with links, how to close alerts, and a little bit of animation to go with it, okay? So first off, types of alerts. You're quite familiar with the different types of classes here in regards to alerts, because it's basically the same thing with the color, if you remember our Bootstrap color lesson, and the background color as well. Here I have an example of an alert in code. We start with a div with class alert. You gotta specify the alert, and then you specify the format of the alert, which comes out as alert, and then whatever you want. Here I have warning as an example, but you can have success, info, warning as I've said, danger, primary, secondary, light, and dark, okay? And then after the div with the class, you have,
I put this in the bold HTML tag. This is a warning. You don't have to put it in bold. You can customize however you want. And we close the div. Moving on to closing alert. Closing alert is made possible by using a tag called alert dismissible. Okay, very simply, dismissible means that you can dismiss the alert or you can close it. Okay, we start with a button type button. So I have a little bit of a typo here. I'm just gonna put, yeah, I was missing that. And then class is button close. Data BS dismiss alert. Okay, what this means is our alert comes off as a button and we can close this button. Okay, let's move on to the next part, which is animated alerts. I'm just gonna go very briefly into this because we're just diving into the basic necessities of Bootstrap. If you want further animation, then that's more on JavaScript, let's say. So we have div class alert naturally, and then alert. I'm gonna go with danger alert dismissible. You can close the alert, fade and show. So when the alert pops up, there's a little bit of a fade. Okay. And then alert links, meaning that you can use the A tag or the link tag inside of alerts. Okay, so div class alert success. This means it pops up, it's green, it says success. Strong success. Go to href. I'm just gonna leave this blank. So if I leave this blank and I don't put anything within it, it's gonna give an error in the browser. Okay, it's also dependent on the browser. So I will show you that in a bit. Class alert link, and then just here. The here is the link. Just click on here, and then it pops up. And close the A tag, and then close the div. And that's it. So here I already have a div container. I'm just gonna go ahead and have a div class alert warning. Okay, well, this is a warning. Okay, and down here we're gonna have a dismissible alert div class alert info alert dismissible. Okay, button type button class button close, and then data BS dismiss alert. Okay, and we close the button, and that's it. Let's move on to the next part. I'm gonna escape out of here, and we're gonna have a little bit of an animated button. Div class alert success. Just gonna go with success. Alert dismissible, and fade and show. Okay. Animated alert. Let's go down here and have link. Actually, I think I'm gonna attach a link to here with a href, and I'm not gonna put anything here, and it's gonna return an error. But if I put this, it won't. Class alert link. Okay. Oops, my bad. Shouldn't have clicked that. There we go. So this is what we're having here. This is a warning, this warning is yellow. Since for this button, I didn't put anything here, so there's nothing here, but there's this little X, so you can close it. And this is the animated one with a link. And since I put, the hashtag inside of the href attribute, click on it, you can see that it changes up here, but, nothing happens. So I'm just gonna go ahead. All right, and I'm gonna change my code a little bit. I'm gonna put something here. This is a button, so we know, what the format is like. And I'm gonna delete this part. So I'm gonna go ahead and put something here. This is a button alert up here. If you put it over here, the format and like the design may be a little bit janky, and I'm going to delete this part and see how it works. All right. You have this as a button alert, this X is in the middle, the right place, nothing is too weird. And if it closes it closes. An animated alert with a link, if I click on this, right, it resets the page. So for my browser, it reset the page, but in other browser, it may give an error. Now, that's it for today's lesson. I do hope that you learned something new. Thank you for watching until the end. Next lesson is going to be about part 1 of buttons. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what you've learned. Learn today, better tomorrow, and have a wonderful day. Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap 5. Today is the first lesson of buttons. We're going to take a look at the style, the outline, and the sizes. Okay, now let's move on to our lesson, types of buttons. I'm going to go through the basic syntax of button. So button, we have type button naturally. Class is BTN, short for button. And this is just a basic button, basic as you can get, this default format. But if you want a little bit of a bedazzle, button, type button, class button, space, button. And certainly you're familiar with info as well as primary, secondary, success, and warning, danger, dark, light, and link. Okay, we're just gonna talk about link later. So with secondary, success, and all of those stuff, you've encountered them when it comes to color, text color, background color with Bootstrap, and you've also encountered in the previous lesson as well when we were talking about alerts. This works similarly to alerts in terms of formatting and color. So once we got that done, let's move on to this. You can actually use the button classes for the A tag and the input tag of the HTML form tag as well. So href, I'm just going to leave it blank, class, button success, and then, right, that is a link button. That's how you do a link button. Next up is input type button, class button. We're going with, green button success, value input button, right? So just click on the button, maybe you will have some user input, send it to a server somewhere, or PHP, for example. And then input type submit. So this is a submit button. You would have an extra tag where the user can put, let's say, like a text field, and then this is just an extra button that says, oh, when you're done, just click send. Button, warning, so it's going to be yellowish. Value, submit, button. Okay, so it is as simple as that. Let's move on to the button outline. This is strictly aesthetic, and you can use the same logic that you had with primary, secondary, success, and whatnot. You move on with button outline, and danger. Very simple, very straightforward. Next up, to button sizes, we have LG for large and SM for small. It's not foreign concept. You've also encountered this in the earliest lesson that we had, actually. So this is an example. Button type button, class button primary, right? This is the default. And then you have button class, button and then button primary and then space, and you have button SM for a small. Over here, let's see what a basic button is like. Button type button, class BTN or button, then basic. Okay, let's move down here. Button type button, same thing, class button, but this one is info. Okay, info button. All right, and then let's go down here and have A and input, A href, just have nothing, class button success, and then link button, input, type button, class button danger, value is a input button. Okay. Now that's it for the basic button, info button, and the input and HRE. The link button, not HREF. I don't know what I was saying there. Now let's take a look at the button outline and button sizes. Button type, button class, btn outline, warning outline. Lastly, we have button type, button class, btn primary. Okay, we're going with primary for once, default. Then button type, button class, button primary. And almost forgot, we're gonna make it small. Okay, small primary button. And there we go. There we have it. So this is the basic button. If I click on it, you can see the outline's different. Here we have the info button. If we hover, you see a little bit of hoverable action there. Link button, input button, warning outline. Okay, this looks more. This has more contrast. It does pop more. This is the default, and this is the small button compared to the default. Okay. So thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something new. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Our next lesson is going to be part 2 of buttons, a deeper dive, more variety. Don't learn today, better tomorrow, and thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap 5. Today's lesson is about buttons, part 2. We'll be taking a look at block level buttons, active and disabled buttons, as well as spinner buttons. So first of all, block level buttons, they span the entire width of the parent element. I have the sample code here. dgrid for the class of the div container for these buttons. Button type button, and you've learned of this before in the previous lesson. Class button, and then button primary for the color, and button block to signify that this is a block level button, full width. Okay, now you obviously can have multiple of these block level buttons and have them appear side by side, as I've did here. Same thing, dgrid gap 3. The gap 3 here, what it does is that it specifies the gap, basically, between each of these buttons. The bigger the gap, the more spacing in between them, the smaller the gap, vice versa. It's just, button type button, class button, and then button info for the color, button block to tell HTML that this is a block level button, and 1, 2, 3, and that's it. So now that we're done with block level buttons, let's move on to active and disabled buttons. These are aesthetic. Okay, active, it basically lets the button looks like it's pressed already. Disable means that the buttons appear to be unclickable. Okay, so you've seen these two aesthetics quite a lot as you browse the internet, different types of website. Now we're going back with button type button, class, button, so on and so forth. And lastly, if you put active or disable, it tells HTML everything that it needs to know. And you can do the same thing with link as well. As I've did here, A for link, href, we have no link source for now. Class, button success, so the link will be green. Disabled, and it is a disabled link. Let's move on to the next part, which is spinner. Okay, when you load something, right, there's a spin animation on a button or on your screen. This is exactly that. Button class, button success, so it's green. Span class, spinner border, and then spinner border again, but small this time. Now, this is the basic, this is the default. And if you want, a simple spinner, you just go with this code sample over here. But I have many different varieties of the spinner, and we're going to go through them, and then we'll move on to demonstration. Now, button class, you already know this. Span class, spinner, border, small. And then we have a text load down here. And the same thing goes down here. Spinner, border, and small. Okay. I can't really explain exactly like the difference between the aesthetic. I think it's better if you just see it for yourself in the demonstration. And this is the last one. Spinner grow, and small, okay, with the text over here. Here in our HTML file, I'm going to scroll down and start with the demonstration for block level buttons, okay? Div class D grid gap. Now I'm going to make it 4, a little bit big. Button, type button, right? Class, button, success. Because I like the green color. Button, block, and then 1. And I'm gonna copy and paste this. There's no use to just type the same thing again and again. 2, and then 3 down here. Next up, let's work on the active and disable button. Button, type button, the syntax, how it goes. Class, button, primary, and then active. Okay, active. Then here, button, type, button. It's very convenient how a lot of the syntax is basically the same. You just need to add, like 1 word or 2 words or just a hyphen here and there to completely change the aesthetic and functioning of an HTML element. So that's really a convenient aspect of Bootstrap. I'm just going to scroll down here, okay? And then let's continue with class, button, primary again, and disabled this time. Disabled. Lastly, let's work on the spinner. Button, class, button, warning. Okay, warning. And then span, class, spinner, border, small. Okay, let's go down here and have another one. Button, class, button, primary. Span, class, spinner, border, and then spinner, border, small, same thing. Okay. And down here, we're going to add a text load. Let's have another one. Button, class, button, and then button success. Span, class, spinner, border, small. And span, close that. Load. Now, last one. Button, class, button. I'm going to make this danger. Span, class, spinner, grow, small. And load. So that's it for all of our buttons so far. And let's see what it looks like in the browser. You can see we have a bunch of buttons over here. These 1, 2, 3 are block level buttons, so they take up all of the spaces that they can, okay? And as you can see, when I hover over, they have this color change effect, okay? The color becomes a little bit darker. And active, while the mouse remains the same, you can see that the color change has been applied. It's as if you've constantly hover over the active button, okay, which makes sense because it is active. However, for the disable button, the mouse changes completely. There's no option to click it. It is disabled. And for these for, this is the first default spinner animation. The second one is load. Now down here, they're both the same. However, the second one has a different color. And this is a variation of the spinner animation, okay? So which one you choose, it depends on your preference. So that's it for today's lesson. Thank you for watching into the end and tune in to my next video, button groups, okay? Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment anything that you're not clear on this lesson. Learn today, better tomorrow, and have a wonderful day. Hello everyone and welcome back to Tina Teach Bootstrap. Button groups is what we will be learning in this lesson. We'll be taking a look at horizontal and vertical button groups, them being side by side, and then nesting as well as drop down. So first off, button groups, which is just a group of button, okay? I have the container div class button group style HTML, okay? So this is a group of buttons, so style them accordingly. Button type button, class, button, and then the color, button success. 1, 2, 3, same thing. You've already learned this. Now, with vertical groups, because button groups, they appear side by side by default. If you want them to appear otherwise, vertically, let's say, you have to specify button group and then add in vertical. Okay, and after that, you just copy and paste whatever you have here. Let's move on to the next part, side by side. As I've mentioned before, button groups are inline by default, so they appear side by side. Here I have a basically a group, like we've seen over here. I have a group, and down here I have a group. So these will appear side by side. Okay, with a little bit of gap in between them. And now that we're done with that, this will become clear to you when I show you, okay? Later on, nesting and drop down. We start with container, of course, button group, and then button type button, class button, and then the color 1. Okay, so this is our classic default button. For the second one, has the same syntax, but after it, we have a separate div. Div container class button group. Once again, button type button, class button, then button primary for the blue color, drop down toggle. So this is where the toggling, the drop down menu start. And then data BS toggle, drop down, blue. I'm just going to name it blue for now. Div class drop down menu. Now this is the drop down menu itself where you will specify the items that are in the menu. Okay. A class drop down item. For now I'll just leave this blank, yellow, and the same goes with purple. And it is as simple and straightforward as that. So I'm gonna go ahead and create first vertical groups. Div class button group and vertical. Okay, as simple as that. And within here, I'm going to have 3 buttons. Let's say type button, class button, button success 1. And I'm going to copy and paste this. Copy, paste it 2 times. And now let's move on to another group. Okay, side by side, div class button group, not vertical this time. Copy this part up here, but change this to 2. Okay, 2, 2, 2, 2. And now I'm going to have another group that's next beside it. Div class button group. Okay. Copy and paste this, but I'll make this 3 instead. 3. Just gonna copy and paste this. Okay. Lastly, let's have the drop down menu. Div class button group. Okay, I keep misclicking there. Button type, button, class, button, button, success. And then let's make this actually 4, okay, instead of 1, so we don't get mistaken for the other group. Button, type, button, same goes. Button, warning. And I'm gonna make this 5. Let's go down here and have another div. Button group, button, type, button, okay, class, button, button, primary, drop down, toggle. All right, then data, BS, toggle, drop down. And I'm gonna make this blue. I'm gonna go down here. Okay, now that we have blue, div, class, drop down, menu. A class, we're gonna go with links, drop down, item, href is blank, yellow. And then a class, drop down, item, href, and this is purple, okay? All right, so first off, we have vertical, 1, 1, 1. They still have the hover property. And same goes with 2, 2, 2. This is side by side. However, 2, 2, 2 is one group and 3, 2, 3 is another group. And there's a gap in between them and they appear side by side by default, okay? So these 3 over here will sort of show you the display property of button groups when they are together, okay? And last one, 4, 5, and blue. If you click on the blue, there is a drop down for yellow and purple, okay? It is a link. As you can see up here, it changes, right? It becomes HTML and then there's this hashtag over here. Thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment anything that you're not very clear on for this lesson. Our next topic is going to be about batches, what they are, what purpose they serve, and how can you implement them. Learn today, better tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.